Hello and welcome to this lecture where we'll go into CRUD operations, the theory and intuition concepts behind it. CRUD is basically create, read, update, and delete. This is very important when it comes to databases, and for DuckDB, it is important as well. We will get into understanding the concepts here, and in the next video, we'll go into actually coding it out hands-on. Let's move directly to the slides. CRUD operations are the foundation for managing data in a database. CRUD, create, read, update, delete. These are the CRUD operations. When we translate this to SQL and DuckDB, you will see that insert statement corresponds to create, because here we insert data into our database. We're creating data, right? It adds new data, define new database objects. However, there's another, like the create table that we have when we use read CSV auto, which you have seen in other videos. That is not part of CRUD actually, because here we create a table and insert statement is the one that we put in data into our table. This is create in CRUD. Then we have read, and this is the select statement. You can query the data, you can filter it and get the data as you want, but the basics for that is the select statement. Here, data retrieval, we don't modify it, non-modifying. And then we have the update statement for that. And here we're modifying existing data in a table. And we have a delete statement, which we use for removing one or more rows from a table, right? And also like CRUD, now this is in the end, it's database operations, right? This insert, select, update, and delete, different ways of using our database. However, it could be also that and it's very common that you have an API which will talk to the database when someone does a request to your API. For example, a frontend does a request to your API to get some particular data, and in the end, it will lead to a select statement with certain types of filtering to get that specific data. For example, using fast API for an API layer in between. That is quite common. Then we'll talk about the create class. This is a DDL to create database objects. Here we have create schema if not exists database. Remember that this create class is not part of create in terms of CRUD operations. Here, the if not exist, it makes this statement potent. And idempotent means that when we run it several times, we'll get the same results. If it doesn't exist, it will create the schema. If it exists, then it will not do anything. And the schema is basically a logical grouping, and we have said that before in previous lectures. Logical grouping of several tables and views, basically. And here, create table if not exists database.sql. Here we go into the database schema and we create the table SQL. A little bit strange names for this, maybe, yes. But the thing is that we will do an example of this in the hands-on tutorial later on. Here, what we do is like we create an integer default and we have a next val of this sequence. It will give a sequence of numbers. And we have a word string and we have the description as string as well. What I basically want to do is a glossary. I want to create a glossary. Glossary of database and like the database schema, and I will have other schemas as well. This is schema.table. And this specific is for auto-incrementing ID colon, okay? Now we use insert statement for creating data. And the insert statement basically is here. You have insert into database.sql. Here is the table inside of the database schema, right? We insert the word, comma, description. We insert these two here. Values is CRUD is the word. Here this is the description. And we have range condition is the word. And here is the description. This corresponds to these two into here. Columns to insert data, ID increments automatically. And then we move on to the alter statement to change an existing table. We want to alter it, right? Here, you alter table database.duckdb. This is actually the schema called database, and the DuckDB is the table. Here, add column learned Boolean default false, okay? We add this column that is called learned. I want to have in my glossary, I want to have a column learned where it should be true or false, right? Depending on if I've learned this word or not. My table is called DuckDB. Maybe I have another table called Postgres SQL or another table called Snowflake SQL maybe. The statement to change an existing table. And then we have the delete statement to delete the rows. Here we have select star from programming.python. This is the schema programming, and inside there we have Python. And here I select star from this database table where the ID equals 2. And here we see we select it first to make sure that it's safe. We know which ID we pick out. And then when we have picked it out, we delete from this delete from programming.python where ID equals 2. Because when you do this, you will safeguard yourself. You will see that, this is exactly what this is exactly the row that I get. Then when I delete it, I know exactly it's this row that will be deleted. Because this from and where is the same logic as here. Good practice to select the rows beforehand to make sure you delete correct rows. In this video, we went through CRUD operations and some theory and intuition about them, and I hope that you've learned a lot. And in the next video, we'll go into a hands-on tutorial where we'll actually code CRUD operations out. That will be really fun. Stay tuned and let's see you there. Bye.